we've talked about mindfulness
Yeah.
it's certainly like such a critical component to a healthy lifestyle and to what you teach. And you mentioned a bit, that's why you started to be a yoga teacher, right? To bring that in, know it's so important. But what does that really mean on a daily basis to be more mindful?
Yeah. For me, truly mindfulness is about awareness and thoughtfulness, right? And it's having that approach to the things that you do. So having more awareness of ourselves, having more awareness of others, having more awareness of our choices and how they ultimately lead to desired outcomes if you have that awareness. So when I think back to me dealing with my eating disorder, it stemmed from my own lack of awareness. I didn't have the ability to have a great relationship with food because, there was a mental gap. So there wasn't a sense of awareness towards the food that I was ultimately looking to eat. And with the mindfulness piece, it really just tied it back together. It made me say, okay, I'm aware that when I consume this, going back to what we said before, this is how I feel. I don't feel good. Without that awareness, you just kind of keep going. And I think that's why when I speak of mindfulness, I think that's why people will eat things to this day and feel like crap afterwards, and they just continue to do it and they don't stop to question it. And when I say mindfulness is awareness and thoughtfulness, it's like stopping to have that awareness, stopping to say, to think about it, think about what I'm consuming, what I'm doing. And it's more than just in relation to food. To me, it's like just how I live and the choices I make with the things that I do, because there has to be that reasoning behind why you're doing something. And self-awareness is just key and huge. So that's my take on it, because I know it is one of those words out there that are used all the time, just like sustainable, right? It's like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? But really, thoughtfulness, awareness is what I'm really getting at there.
So how does it translate with
Beautiful.
your health coaching clients?
Yeah.
What things do you ask them to do so that they can be more mindful? Because just telling someone, I want you to be more aware,
Yep,
works for maybe the first minute after they leave you, and then they forget again. So are there any concrete tasks you ask them to do or things that help them become more aware of what they're eating?
100%. And with anybody I work with, it's never a one size fits all. So like, before I'm even working with people, like I'm doing a whole intake to kind of get a sense of where they're at, what types of things that they're dealing with, what types of stressors they're dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. And once we're having those types of conversations and I have a sense of what they're particularly dealing with, then that's when I can say, okay, based on this, why are you doing that? What's pushing you to do that? What is your reasoning behind doing this? Why do you think it's something that you're continuously doing? And then that's once I understand those answers, that's when I can give a tip on how to become more aware. And that's my biggest one, which is very traditional, is the journaling. And mine is not just, I want you to do your food journal. I'm big on gratitude journaling and regular journaling so they can get a sense of their thoughts. The food journaling will show you concrete. What are you consuming? What does that look like? The gratitude journaling is kind of centering yourself back into gratitude, because that is what's so important. And if you can live your life like that, everything just is abundant. You just have an abundant mindset, and developing that, because not everybody has that mindset. Some people do already. But then with the regular journaling, that's when they can uncover blockers, what's holding them back. And they're able to look back at that and reflect and see what is, keeping them in this state. So that awareness is me, like, it's not like necessarily me saying, working with me is going to make you aware. I'm going to give you the tools and the tips to allow yourself to come to that awareness on your own. And that's just like my approach, and just my whole coaching philosophy is like, yeah, you might be coming to me because you want to lose weight or you want to improve your relationship with food. But my biggest philosophy is really just getting to the root of what's holding you back from reaching your goals. And then us discussing like the strategies and the tips that you need to take to move forward, so that you don't need me anymore. You know what I mean? That's why it's only 90 days. I want to give you everything that I've learned from my own personal experiences, the books that I've read, the certifications that I've acquired, so that it doesn't have to take you as long as it took me. So, that's my approach. And that's how I kind of infuse that awareness piece in there too. It's just helping them become more in tune with themselves, because we all already have the answers. and that's why I'm glad there's multiple health coaches. Like Alexandra, I'm glad you're a coach too. We need more of us out there because we can't help everybody. So it's one of those things where really just helping people come into tune with who they are. Yeah. And then allowing them to figure out the next steps so that they can do it in a sustainable way, right? With the sustainable, so they can do it on their own.
Just a note to self or note to everybody. I used to be a health coach, but I recently closed my business just a few months ago because of taking care of my mom. But the principles of health coaching are so important, and you've touched on a lot of them. Awareness of why triggers and environment is something that I saw on your website that you help people with during the 90-day program that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about how you help people change their environment so they can make better choices?
Yeah. Some people might be in situations where the environment is a really, really tricky one, right? So we might have to focus on like really what's in their control, given like financial situations or things like that. So the number one,
other people in the house.
Exactly. Right? Kids, husband, whatever the case, wife. So first and foremost, it's okay. We do that fridge and pantry makeover. And Dotsie, I think I checked out your page. You have some great content on that too, just as far as helping people out with that. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes back to, okay, what's in there? What can we slowly swap out? Because I'm not one of those like makeover. No, because that's just not realistic. What do I do with this? It's like slowly introducing things. Mm-hmm. That's why that coaching relationship is so one-on-one, because everybody's different. Everybody likes different foods. So it's about understanding like, okay, you like consuming this, try this instead. Or you really want to create some type of sauce and you really love this sauce. Let me work on making you a plant-based version of that sauce. I can come up with something for you and I'll make it. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be your go-to sauce for this. Oh, go ahead.
Let me ask you a quick question just before we move on to the pantry.
Okay.
Because you guys mentioned challenging household and luckily my husband was like, oh, this makes sense, and did it with me. But I just can't, it's hard to imagine now, as deep as I'm in, to not be with someone in a household that all of it is safe and I don't have it. So for someone that's like, hey, I've got the challenging household, when you talk about the cabinets in the pantry, do you say create your own cabinet and pantry? Because if it's just going to be, let's say you have, a couple, 3, 4 kids, 2 kids, whatever, and they're eating whatever, and hubby or wife is eating whatever, or partner, and it's just all still there right there in front of you. So how do people, I've always wondered that, like how they can create their, I don't know, safe space, their safe food space.
So your question, it depends, because it depends on who they're with and how supportive they are. Right. There might be people who are like, I don't want to try this. You can try it. If it works, I might try it with you. And that's just what it is. And if that's the case, then yes, you'll have your own little section. But otherwise, typically, oftentimes women are kind of in control of what everybody's eating. So you can slowly incorporate things in.
Just force it on them.
Yeah. Right. You can pick up those snacks. You can pick up those healthy alternative snacks. You can bring more fruit and dates into the house and just more nuts and things. If the allergies aren't there, things like that. You could bring those things in. There's tons of alternatives. So to your question, that's my approach. It really depends on their dynamics. And then kind of going back to the challenging environment, I'm a big believer. If you're single, try to attract someone that's on your same frequency, trying to strive towards a healthy lifestyle. Seriously. Otherwise, there's going to be some conflict and you might outgrow this person in this area. Now, if you're already with somebody and they love you, be an inspiration. And, that's why you see so many successful stories where the one person was successful and then their partner got on the train and then maybe their kids were even successful. I think today more than ever, especially with kids, what I've seen with coaching at different levels is the kids want to be healthy. And, this isn't, my clients aren't kids, but I just as a side note, I've seen kids want to be healthy and they're encouraging their parents to bring more foods in. But then it goes back to that lack of awareness of what that really means because of our society and the programming and what's being put out there and all the commercials and all that good stuff. But long story short, that is my approach with clients. It's focusing on the pantry, focusing on the refrigerator, and then seeing, depending on their relationship dynamics, what changes can be made. And I'm really big on encouraging people to let go of what doesn't serve them. You know, if you have people that are completely unsupportive in your life, you have to take a deeper soul searching look at that. I'm not going to be the one to advise you to make a decision, by no means, but you have to do some inner work. That goes back to the journaling. How do you feel when this person says that? You know, you have to figure those things out. And I think that's the biggest piece to Alexandra's point earlier, right? Just like, you know, when you had these battles, what else was it? Because it's not just the food. The food is just the coping mechanism, right? So
Always.
So then if some people went with this, and that's why the mindfulness thing again, right? The awareness and the thoughtfulness, it goes back to sometimes people figure out what else they need to change in their life, not just what's going on their plate, but some other things too that are very personal.